Yeah, Mike's green.
Do we need it on now?
Okay, I see how it goes.
Kind of a long one. All right, I'd like to thank everybody for being here today. It is 5:11 on my watch. I'd like to go ahead and call the meeting to order.
Second.
I guess we decided last time that we would start off with, and I guess before we get too far into this, I'd like to go ahead and officially welcome Sunny Hirschfield to the meeting tonight. She's as an observer here tonight, but she is going to be a member of the commission soon. So we're glad to have a closer to full commission. It's been a while since we've actually had a full commission. So last time at the last meeting, we decided that we would go ahead and start with a moment of silence and a pledge of allegiance and salute to the flag. So could we go ahead and start with that? Move forward with the moment of silence. And salute to the flag. Do we have, I guess we have a flag here?
Yes.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Just in case you don't know that, it is on your
I'll have to almost study
All
that.
right, yeah, that's a
It's been a while, guys.
start to my day.
It's been a
every
while,
day,
man.
So now it's a start to my once a month meeting here, so some continuity there. We all had a chance to review the meeting minutes from January 27th.
I reviewed the document, yes.
To entertain a motion to approve the minutes from January 27th.
Yep. I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes for January 2nd.
Second that.
Okay, you got a second on that? A roll call vote?
And if you do note that I did get it wrong on the agenda, and I will change that in the minutes whenever I type it up.
All right, Everett?
You want me to go ahead and take that over? So we're going,
I was just, I guess, I don't know, we should probably do a roll call vote, I guess. Everett?
here.
Aye, and Corey? Here. And I also approve the minutes, so
Okay.
it's approved. I've got
And
the,
then we are making a motion to amend the document for approved minutes and change
Yes.
that to January instead of February, correct?
Yes, January 27th.
Okay. So make the amendment to change February to January 22nd, 2021
Yes,
on the approved minute document.
yes.
Did you say 22nd or 27th?
27th.
It was 7th, right?
27th.
Thank you.
all right, and the first, I don't know if we have anybody viewing out there, but we don't have anybody here at the meeting, so we can move forward past the welcome. Public comment, we don't have anybody who signed up for public comment. If there's anybody out there who does desire to participate in public comment in the future, you do need to make sure that you sign up for that 4 hours in advance, and that will be, you will be, have to comment from the Zoom meeting, so please, if you're not sure how to do that, please contact Melissa.
And actually what they do, Trevor, is they will email me their comments and we will get them to y'all
And we'll read
to, yes, sir,
Okay.
to read during the meeting.
Okay. Possible action items tonight include a review of the Grindstone master plan. And so you want us to, so this was formally given to you guys when?
picked these documents up Friday.
Okay, all right.
So-
Yeah, and I believe, yeah, they were kind of at the end of last week, and we had them, kind of put to
Bound.
a booklet
Yeah.
for you
Okay.
guys.
And so are we the first committee looking over these?
Yes, they have not been presented to council quite yet.
Okay.
They will be going to them at the April 13th meeting. So the hope for tonight is to, there are some items that we've highlighted for you all to review. It is a pretty lengthy document, but we wanted to kind of cover some of the highlighted areas that are tabbed in your booklet, and hope to see what kind of recommendations you all would have for those. And there will be, another presentation done regarding the master plan, but we were hoping to have something, and it doesn't have to happen tonight, but we were hoping to have some sort of recommendation from you all for the council at the April meeting. So if we want to start, we can start looking on page 66 actually starts, that's where it's titled The Future, Chapter 3, and that's really where they get into all of the recommendations
Okay.
and listing the goals. And so a few of the focuses we wanted to cover with you all tonight were parking, the campground, staffing, fees, boat ramp, docks, and parking. And so those have kind of been some of the major areas, and we've kind of just bookmarked them as far as what they are recommending. And a big one, and it is B of item 6, is the park ordinance. So we are hoping to make a fee resolution at the upcoming council meeting, and we would like to get a recommendation from you all to move forward with that. There is an updated fee ordinance after your agenda. You should have the highlighted items are what possible changes there would be. And so really kind of going back to the master plan, parking was, of course, kind of a big topic, and they would like us to not only expand some of the parking, but when we talk about that campground, they did recommend using it for seasonal parking and then using the campground itself in the off-season for camping. So not having the campsites available at the same time where we're running it as a additional parking.
So there'd be camping from Memorial Day to Labor Day? Or opposite? Labor Day to
From Labor Day
Memorial
to, correct, yes, around that. That would sort of be the seasonal camping, and then using it during, Memorial to Labor Day for additional parking.
Okay.
So that is the recommendation there. And then also included in that, on page 73, where you see it noted as info kiosk, that is the area right off of Grindstone where a couple of seasons ago, it was used as overflow parking. We kind of eliminated that last season, but it was included in this master plan as a recommendation to incorporate some additional parking. We really like the idea of adding an info kiosk. And so, if this entire area was not developed for parking, we could see that, a portion of it would be for some pull-off parking, a big kiosk that says Grindstone Lake visitor information. They would have all of the information about your boat permits, your parking permits, the website to get that, any of our current restrictions, our no charcoal, no litter, kind of all of the rules and regulations that they could pull off and kind of get to before arriving at the lake itself.
Okay.
And that would kind of also help with the congestion at the parking booth once they arrive to the actual lake.
And so let me just clarify, this the area that we're talking about right now is on the east side of the current Parks and Recreation building,
Correct.
on that road that goes down to Carrizo?
To Carrizo, yes.
Okay. Which is where we put a bunch of snow and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
okay, check.
Yes, so that was one of the recommendations included there.
And this is an unmanned kiosk.
Correct. It would be an unmanned
So
kiosk.
just an information center, basically,
yes,
what to
we're-
expect, where to go for what?
We're hoping, we also envision it having sort of like a QR code where they can scan it. It takes them right to the webpage where they can register for their reservation or get their permits and just have it done all from their phone, you
Which will
know?
cut down some of that line going into the lake, hopefully.
Right, all that turnaround traffic.
And then the next page on 74, it does start to talk about the parking fees. And that's where we come into the fee resolution that we are hoping to get a recommendation from you all for. And I know that this document is pretty lengthy, so if we only get one recommendation from you all tonight, I would highly suggest or recommend that it be the resolution for the fees, because we are getting close to the season and operations. And so if we are going to increase those, and I say increase, but it's really not. So I'll jump to that really quick. If you all go to that second page of the fees, you'll notice that we're proposing that Village of Ruidoso local residents do not have to pay anything for their season pass. They would receive a season pass for $0. Anybody in the Lincoln County would receive a season pass for $20. And then if they are New Mexico residents, they could get a season pass for $30. Then the other change would affect the daily parking pass. Instead of $5 per vehicle, that would increase to $10 per vehicle. And again, that is only for outside of New Mexico visitors that don't wish to get a season pass, or, folks around the state that just want to come for the day, and instead of, getting a season pass, they're just paying $10 for the vehicle. And again,
That's not, I'm sorry to interrupt, that's not currently in place?
No, currently it is $5 per vehicle, and then $20 local pass, which we have done for kind of the local Capitan, Alto, working or students go to school here. So this would really, the next sheet that you see was a really quick calculations of what that would mean as far as the projected revenue that we would be looking at if we eliminated the Ruidoso residents getting a pass for free.
And we are talking about full-time residents?
It would actually depend on their zip. So if they were second homeowners and here for the summer, they could get, if they had a Ruidoso proper zip code, they could.
On their ID?
Right,
Correct.
or they can bring a water bill or.
That was going to be my next question, is how would an out-of-state or out-of-town resident,
So-
second resident, prove?
So those would be purchased directly through us, and then, so New Mexico residents or Lincoln County residents would have to show their ID in order to get their season pass, but we would be a little more diligent on the free season passes for the locals. And again, if they are locals during the season with a second home, they would qualify. And so again, those are kind of just some quick numbers, but you really see that by just increasing the $5 to $10, the amount of season passes that we would give for free to the local residents would really not even put a dent in that. And again, this is based on the master plan. A lot of I marked it on page, it says page 18, but it's of the survey results. We did receive information that nearly 50%, let me read this, of the survey respondents would prefer adding or increasing user fees for recreational activities in order to kind of cover improvements. So again, this is,
Where's that? It's on,
I'm looking at page 20.
I apologize because they're not numbered on the back when it comes to the survey results.
It's okay.
But let me see how far from,
Oh,
and I should have marked it.
Well, I
on
see
there.
our graphs here.
In the executive summary, it's pretty far back there.
I see.
Okay, so here's our draft, right?
Yeah, but it does, it basically, it was part of the survey that went out to the public that says a preferred way for the village to raise additional funds for improvements at Grindstone Lake and trails. So again, part of the master plan is the funding for these improvements. And, so some of those strategies listed in this master plan as a recommendation is to potentially increase the user fees. However, we did see from public input as well that they, as locals, would not like to see that increase of fee for them. So this is kind of a meet in the middle and kind of try to,
Is this what you need?
yeah, it's like page 18,
Page
but it's.
19 of the
Okay. Great.
survey, but that
I
is.
see.
If you also go to page 95, which it is correctly numbered in your booklet, you will see the funding strategies listed there. And that third paragraph does talk about a preference for raising, it talks about,
Tabbed funding.
yeah.
what page did you say? I'm sorry? 90 what?
Page 95. It also does talk about increasing funds through lodger's tax and user fees, parking fees to a similar degree. So that is just kind of, as we sat and discussed, really giving the locals a free season pass. Last year, again, they did pay $20. We did not offer a New Mexico resident or a Lincoln County season pass, but we would like to offer that as we did see an influx of local New Mexico and Lincoln County users.
These projected numbers, Jasmine, where did those numbers come from? How did we calculate that? And what year are those numbers based on?
So these are based on last year's numbers alone. Again, they were a quick pull. We have access to our back end of the reservation system. We can see what city, state, zip code that they're coming from. So I really, again, they're rough numbers.
It just gives us an idea.
Exactly, yeah. So I basically went through, pulled all of New Mexico residents, pulled Ruidoso residents, pulled Lincoln County, and kind of listed those there. And then the projected sort of revenue is what they would be if they were buying a season pass or the non-New Mexico residents purchasing a daily pass.
And the bottom calculation in green is the estimated difference in revenue collection based on the changes that are suggested.
Correct.
Okay.
So it would be that additional amount. So that is the other highlighted items on the ordinance, the fee resolution would be, let's see, we talked about those. Just adding the words local to the season passes would be an update. And then we did include our Horton Gym and Horton Conference Room. We added those to the rental parks and facilities items since they had not been included previously. And I believe that those were all, oh, I'm sorry. On the first page, there's also, for the special operations season, we did make the note, parking outside of the special operations season or special operation hours will continue as needed in order to meet the master plan objectives for enhancement of services. And the reason we kind of included that is based on last year's numbers, we did not see that immediate decline after Labor Day. It wasn't until late October that we started to see those numbers go down. So really, it would just be to have staff remain out there while it's busy to kind of keep monitoring the lake capacity. And so we didn't want
It's probably going to be a
to.
redundant question, but in your estimated revenue increase, is it adjusted to take account the extra time that you saw people there? Or is it like Memorial Day, Labor Day?
So when I took those numbers, I took reservations from, I believe, March of last year to March of this year. So it also includes the free reservations that we were doing during those off,
Okay,
past the season.
okay.
And so again, that statement there is just to allow us to have the ability to keep lake operations open if we see the capacity and needing to monitor it.
If it's still busy, we need someone out there, basically.
Correct, yeah. Which we've kind of done, but post-COVID, we don't know what to expect.
Sure, for sure.
But yeah, so I stand for any questions regarding the fee resolution?
I noticed that the master plan has different numbers in it. On page 74, so this would update those numbers, this would be revised to reflect.
Right, and I think the fees, so their recommendation of the 750 and the 30 to annual. Yeah, that was kind of their recommendation. We're not really sure what it was based on. So kind of looking at our back end numbers and what we've kind of seen and taken from that, it's kind of a combination of their recommendation with, our additional recommendation. Especially because we would never want to mess with change at the pay station, so having a,
750 would be.
Yeah.
I like that the Lincoln County, or at least the Ruidoso residents are going to have that free season pass. I like that a lot. And you were saying that is going to be extended to all Lincoln County residents?
all Lincoln County, so
Lincoln County.
Riadoso proper would receive a free season parking pass.
And then we would get a discounted.
Lincoln County residents would get a $20 season pass, which doesn't change anything for them really.
Okay.
It was the same last year.
It was the same last year.
Yeah, it was still the 20.
Correct. We still allowed like Riadoso Downs, Alto
Capitan.
to receive a $20 parking pass.
Okay.
Then if you're outside of Lincoln County. then it
But
would be
still New
$30.
Mexico, it would be
Still New
30.
Mexico.
So we're gonna, as a part of that, we absorb whatever fees the minor, I'm assuming it's fairly minor, but you're still gonna receive some kind of vinyl sticker or something that goes in.
Correct, yes.
So we'll just absorb that.
And we'll have two different colors, one for
Residents.
residents and one for
non-residents.
Okay.
Correct.
And so there is no fees outside of season.
Correct.
You probably said that already. I just wanted to make sure.
No. So that's another thing. Sorry. Thank you, Melissa. So in addition to reducing the season pass fee for local residents, we're also looking at the potential of not requiring a reservation if they have a season pass.
If they're a Ruidoso proper local.
Yes, and that would basically be us adjusting our capacity to, we can look, again, we can run the numbers and see what percentage of local residents were visiting the lake on the weekends, and kind of adjusting that to, instead of having them with their season pass also have to get on and make a reservation, we could eliminate that and just, they have a season pass and they can come
So.
To the
is
park,
there
as
gonna
long as
be
there's
any reservation
parking.
system?
Yes. Yes, the parking system will be in place for everyone else looking to visit the lake.
So if you're Lincoln County, if you're a New Mexico resident, if you're outside of that, you still have to make the reservation and pay the fee. If you're a Ruidoso local.
How are you going to ensure access for residents then?
So again, that would kind of be looking at our number, and this isn't for sure, but
I'm
we,
just, because I mean, what, I thought the purpose really of the
to keep the numbers.
reservation was to actually ensure, like, that as a resident, you had access. But if the lake fills up with reservations and it doesn't, I mean, it sounds like it's a first come, first serve for residents.
So it is, but we would again adjust. If you look at our numbers from last year, residents did not really visit the lake on the weekend, including their reservations that they made. So what we would do is really adjust our parking capacity to account for that percentage of locals that would be visiting.
Is that 886 number that I see on the revenue, is that what we got for residents? Is that the number of residents? I mean, I wasn't sure what those numbers represented. I assumed that they were the number of passes.
Yeah, that's what I was.
So no, those were not season passes. Those were just reservations made by.
Those are weekend reservations.
Correct. We had about 220, 240 local season passes.
And going back and looking, if we said there's 300 parking spots, we're gonna save 25 for those, that would offset that number, and they would have a spot to park without having to worry about that with, and then the change in fees would offset the price difference. Because most people that live here aren't gonna go to the lake on the weekend during those busy times.
Well,
And then-
yeah,
and
I
then
mean, most people
back
have
at
the
those
luxury
numbers.
to have their, some day during the week available to them. I mean, there'll be some people who, they work,
Right.
Monday through Friday, they only have the weekend available.
Correct. So this would just allow them to not have to still be able to visit the lake without having to make a reservation. The
So you're-
capacity numbers would remain the same, so it would guarantee, we're not ever going to let more than, 300 vehicles into the lake at one time.
And you're saying that you're going to set aside, you're going to somehow mark a percentage of those as like,
Local.
Reserved for
only?
locals.
that sounds a little tricky, but.
So if we let in 300 cars, we'll only let in 275 cars, 25 spots will be saved for, I'm just throwing numbers.
Right,
out
yeah.
there.
Right, and again, it would be looking based on the numbers that we're seeing, based on the number of season passes that we're selling, based on the numbers that we are seeing, come to the lake. And we have been pretty good about adjusting all of last year. This reservation system
Yeah, no, I
changed
was,
from day one to, day 300. So we're happy to continue to adjust and see what fits, but really, that's again, just an added perk that we would hope to be able to provide to locals with their season pass. But really, the fee would just address the expense that they would be paying for their season pass.
It does sound a bit tricky. How do you calculate those percentages every day or weekday?
well.
It's almost like you should make
I just-
everyone just get a reservation regardless, and then obviously there's no fee associated with your
Yeah, and
local free pass.
yeah, and potentially that's, where we end up, but it was just another recommended thing for local season pass holders not to have to make a reservation.
Would locals still be able to participate in the reservation system to try to ensure instead of going?
Oh, yeah,
So they could,
definitely.
okay.
And again, last year, we only operated reservations Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I have a feeling we will be operating more days of the week,
Yeah,
especially with the Whip It Back, if that is so.
I would agree. Okay. I don't know.
Have we, so how many parking spaces did we have last year?
Our parking capacity was 300 last year.
And how much do
Per
we
day.
anticipate increasing it if we open up the camping area for parking? Do we know?
So that included, we did use the campground for parking last
We're
year.
not seeing any increase in capacity.
Not really. What they would do, what that map kind of shows
They'd be
is,
using that area back down there going.
it's kind of making it a more official parking area, but we did use those areas for overflow parking. Another another item in the master plan is the Watershed Projects also happening there. And as you all probably know, so out of the revenue that comes in, 70% goes to Parks and Rec and 30% goes to the Watershed Projects. So that would be, other areas where this funding would be going to. And on page 81 is where, or 80 is where they start to go into all of the watershed recommendations.
And so basically, we're looking for a recommendation to proceed forward with the new proposed parking fees and everything this evening is kind of where we're wanting to lean that to.
Correct. So of course, we're looking for a recommendation to move forward with this master plan and present it to council in order to start looking for funding for these projects. But tonight, if there's only one recommendation we can get, it would be highly recommended to get the ones for the fee resolution.
The fee resolution.
Correct. Only because we do have to get
Parking
those.
fee resolution, basically.
Yeah, it includes all of our fees, like our park rental fees and whatnot. But again, the big changes are the season passes.
How are we anticipating coordinating parking and Whibbit use? Because to me, that sounds like a whole nother issue, like you.
So we have talked about putting the Whibbit on a reservation system also.
It's tied into the
Correct.
parking reservation.
Yes. Yes,
be
because
able
you
to
can't
park.
just go to the Whibbit and not have a parking spot. So you will be required to have a parking spot and a Whibbit pass.
Pass at the same time.
Correct.
So that's all going to be like an online system.
Yes, and we did have.
Done that in the past?
we-
We haven't done that in the past, have we?
We have not done a Whibbit pass on the reservation system because we did not have the Whibbit operating last year when we introduced the reservation system. But we have used the reservation system now for lots of our activities and programs, including some camps and outdoor events.
Halloween, all that stuff.
Halloween, Christmas.
Christmas.
Yeah, so we do know that the system is capable of charging for the Whibbit pass. It'll just be a matter of communicating that folks know if they are purchasing a Whibbit, they need to also have a parking pass tied to their Whibbit pass for the same day.
Okay. Can't have one without the other.
Nope.
Yeah. You don't want them just rolling through, letting the kids out and then.
Dropping them off,
Yeah,
coming
just
back
dropping
from
them
later.
off.
How are we handling hike-ins,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
hike-in access?
Oh,
Okay, so the way we operated last year was we obviously know how many folks, we're monitoring. So if we tried to allow anybody going to just access hiking or biking, and we could kind of tell if they have a car full of bikes or they have, no coolers or floaties or anything, they're probably trying to access the trails. So we found that trail users were more of the early crowd, so they were getting to there early. There was plenty of parking available. We kind of gauged and learned that we could allow them to go in and the vehicles would leave before it got to capacity. So again, kind of just monitoring it and really,
Like hikers then still needed a reservation on the weekends.
it was highly recommended for them to make a
Is there
reservation.
is there anything in this master plan kind of taking that into account, like some parking just for people who are not actually using the lakes, who are trying to access the trails?
So as far as this
I know there is for the horse, for those people who are going down to the horse parking area.
Correct. Yes, so there is the Fisherman Trail. The plan also looks at the Grindstone, the disc golf parking, and really revamping that to add additional parking there. Also, like you said, around the equestrian area. There's also that additional trail that the Forest Service is currently working on off of Carrizo Canyon, which would give you access to the trail that will lead you to the Grindstone trails from Carrizo Canyon. And I'm totally blanking on that trail right now. But if they are looking just for hiking, that's going to be an additional area where they don't even have to go and park at Grindstone Lake. They can access the trails from that new trailhead. So yes, there is that option too that is looking at that. But if they're coming to hit the Grindstone trailhead, they will be having to use the parking lot there. But there is another trailhead being added.
Okay, and ended up being good information. I guess my initial question was walk-in access to the lake. Like if you're trying to go to the lake and you just want to walk in, how do we handle that? Because I know there's a problem with parking the neighborhoods and stuff. And we don't
Right.
want to.
But we do have people that man those,
We're monitoring that.
right,
yeah.
and so
Correct.
they put up barriers in those neighborhoods. We have people that man that on those busy, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And if it's obvious that you are a resident that lives somewhere near there and you have walked to the lake, that's a lot more obvious than if you're trying to carry your cooler and your tent and your watermelon, and which we have seen people park places and haul all their stuff in. And so putting up those barriers and manning those busy areas, if you live there, it's kind of pretty obvious whenever you're walking in, just on your bike or just hiking in with your backpack, that you're not there for the day.
Yeah, we had several people ride their bikes into the parking area to hit the trails, and there, we
We just wave them in. We
Yeah,
just wave
there's-
them through.
and again, we really tried to allow anybody trying to access just the trails who may have not had a reservation. We tried to accommodate that as long as we were under our capacity. And
Most hikers and fishermen are there super early or later in the evening.
What are we going to do if somebody tries to open up a shuttle of their own?
I mean,
I
would encourage.
They bring in 15 people and they let them off at the kiosk and they just are able to go into the lake. I mean, it seems like all our fee structure is based on parking, and what would happen in that case?
so, I mean, obviously, we would have to address that at that point, but,
Should it happen?
right, exactly. But I lost my train of thought, but,
or if a family's they've got a driver, they.
Oh,
drop
that
off
was
the
where I was going with
family,
that.
They just turn around and they go.
so part of our staffing plan also is to hopefully have someone there that's kind of working as a lake manager, but kind of just monitoring and being more of a customer service person. So they can tell, like, okay, we're getting, just people being dropped off. So they would be able to communicate that with our staff, with the rest of the staff, and kind of look at numbers there. They would also be there to provide information on.
We're not going to restrict it, but we're going to monitor it?
Correct. Yeah, I think until we see a major problem with it, yeah. And if someone does start a shuttle service, I'm sure we would be happy to sit with them and figure out how we can incorporate their numbers.
These are things that I think.
Oh, yeah, no, there's always,
It's not much to get into the lake, but still, if the limiting factor becomes parking, some people may try to figure out, like, well, I still want to go to the lake.
and we saw that very seldomly. Like, there were a couple of days where I remember that folks parked at Wingfield, hiked all the way, pulling,
Or they
some
could,
chairs.
they could potentially, use the turnaround area to let their family out, and then they go park at Wingfield, a single person does.
We normally monitor that at the check-in, because when we're asking if they have a reservation and they say, no, I'm just dropping someone off, then if it's like, how many people are you dropping off? Are you just going to park the car? Are you coming back? We're kind of having that conversation at the check-in when we're checking people in for their reservation.
So that way you can count capacity.
And we try to monitor if they say, no, we're just looking, we just want to drive through and look.
We're radioing, we've got a white SUV coming up, should be circling the lot,
Shouldn't be
let us know,
parking.
yeah. So that's where our communication among our staff really comes in handy.
And then obviously using we're just gonna call it the Carrizo parking area since there's not a physical address on it. That would be something that they could do then too, is drop their families off at the front gate and all their gear and then return to that parking area.
So that parking area is kind of why we're looking at it more of an informational kiosk stop. So it has like a 15-minute parking limit.
Okay.
They're getting out to get information, buying their passes.
Getting their reservations,
Yeah, it's not really,
getting their bearings.
Mm-hmm.
Because they would have a map that says like, you are here, rather than, and this is where you need to go, rather than the stops that they make leading up to. We get a lot of visitors at our office, people thinking that it's Grindstone Lane.
correct. So just having that big aerial map, and it would also give them, if they're looking just how to access the trail, it would give them that new trailhead off of Carrizo to let them know, hey, you don't even have to go up to the lake. You can just, hit the trail from this side and loop around.
But if you're creating 126 spaces there, but there's only 15-minute parking limit there.
So that, again, is the recommendation from this master plan. I think that as a department, and I don't know if we're fully looking at that being the move forward.
And it might be that some are specific trail parking and some is specific, I don't know that we've.
All those bridges.
Right, and
have been
again,
crossed, yeah.
and the reason we were kind of hesitant with that is because, again, it would allow people to drop off carloads of people and then go park here, which we're trying to monitor capacity, and that would just not,
Yeah, it's just not
that would-
conducive to that. I do like
Exactly.
that area for a parking and trailhead access for our mountain bikers and hikers and everything like that, because it's only, what, 3/4 of a mile
Yeah.
probably to the trailhead from there.
correct?
Yeah.
Do we have so let's, and I don't want to exhaust we could go on and on about like the potential things that are going to affect the lake use. But do we have like a phone number that people can call to find out, like, if I were a resident and I wanted to go up on a Saturday and I don't need a reservation now, is there going to be a way for me to find out what the current, whether we're at capacity?
question.
Absolutely.
How
Yep.
do you find that out?
You can, if you are calling the Parks and Rec office by
They know
Friday,
the live numbers at the
we
lake?
can log in and see exactly how many reservations we are at.
You can see how many reservations,
But not on a Saturday or Sunday. Is there somewhere that they can call? Is what he's asking.
see, if I don't need a reservation now as a resident, but I know there's 25 spots that are available up there for residents only.
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to be, I don't want to necessarily just like drive up there and check, 2 times
Right.
a day.
I mean, so we're always going to have that live report. Now, how we can update it on the weekends to get it out to the public, we could, kind of come up with a plan
I just
there.
didn't know if there was a number that did.
There's not right now.
There's not, we have that cell phone that we use at the stations. But our staff is just so busy during,
Right.
on those busy weekends that having them answer a phone and look at the report would kind of be,
May not be.
yeah, it would not be conducive to,
It sounds kind of elementary, but honestly, I think it's as simple as like a Facebook post. The Grindstone Lake is currently at capacity, or whatever it is. I mean, I'm kind of with you about going down a rabbit hole. I think we can get way deep into this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I agree, I think you bring up a valid point, but I think we can find a pretty easy solution. I don't know that we need to tell everybody all the time exactly what the
Right.
capacity of the lake is.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be like a live feed.
Yeah, does it need to be a constant live ticker chart that's
Yeah.
showing us the ups and downs?
Right.
I think we can go too far with it, but I agree. It would be handy as a resident to be able to call a number and maybe it's a simple recording or whatever, that just says the lake currently is at whatever, 250, whatever.
And so,
I'm not sure it's a real stretch, actually, to have a pretty close to live number. Like, I mean, we have internet access right up there, right? We have.
yeah, and so I will tell you a couple of things. So last year, we did give locals the priority reservation. So they had until Thursday to make their reservation, and then we opened it up to visitors. Based on that, we never
The local residents.
never filled up local reservations. We always sold out on Saturdays. Fridays got pretty close and they sold out a few weekends. Saturdays were definitely, capacity. Sundays were close. But again, I think the idea behind having locals have a free pass and no reservations, they would be able to drive into the lake. If they think it's too busy, they can turn around and drive right out. There would be no need for them to check in with the reservation because they have that visible season pass that they would be able to just be waved on through. And if they think, if they're having to drive up the campground to get parking and they, don't really want to stay because it's too busy, then they don't really, they would kind of maybe have to drive over there to see. But if they're interested in visiting the lake, they might want to just check it out.
Or do we have people who are strategically filling those parking places?
Yes, yeah, we have parking staff that is filling bottom. If if they're handicapped, we have those spaces. If they're just going to the trails, we're getting them, at those parking spots. If they've got family, we've got radios, and they are strategically, that's part of the master plan too, is kind of just, again, redesigning those parking spots to make them more efficient and visible as parking spots.
The individuals that work at the little boathouse, all that, are they allowed to park in the parking lot every day?
So last year, what we did is we had the staff parked at Parks and Rec at our office, and we shuttled them up to the
Even
dam house.
Contractors that are working at the concession area and the boat rental, all of those contractors were parking at Parks and Rec too, so that they're not
Correct.
consuming usable spaces?
Correct.
It's good to know.
So when I get a reservation to the lake on a weekend, if I'm a non-resident and getting from out of town, is it it's for the whole entire day?
Yes.
And
That-
so if I come and go, does that open, that reservation's used, like?
Correct. You are
So we
given
don't try
a
to-
pass.
we're not trying to maximize the parking, like the capacity of the lot anymore.
No. Once you have your pass, you can enter with that pass again. And again, the only time we were monitoring it was for hikers and bikers that we could tell that half of our reservations were not checked in yet. They're going to go hit the trail. They'll be out in an hour. We did allow them because we knew, we were monitoring where we were in our capacity. If we were at capacity and they wanted to hit the trails, we told them that we just did not have parking available. And it was very seldom.
There's times that if you make a reservation and you leave, we can't guarantee that you will have that spot whenever you come back.
Not the same parking spot, but you will be allowed back in.
I understand
Yeah.
that, but it's a come and go and reservations for the whole day. We're not trying to, if
No,
someone leaves, it's not an enter, exit kind of.
No, once we're sold out on our reservations, we are sold out for those reservations.
And if people don't show up, that's just a empty.
Correct. If it's like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon and we have 100 reservations that didn't check in, they're like, if someone comes in at that time, they would likely let them in. Because again, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon and 100 people haven't checked in for their reservations, so. It's a lot of monitoring and just communicating and
It takes quite a few people out there to make that all happen.
Yeah. What does a typical staffing look like? 10 people?
I believe last year we were staffed at least 12 people operating just parking
Okay.
on a weekend.
Not including the barricade people?
That included the barricade people.
Okay.
Yeah, the folks working
So like 12 people total to make that process happen?
just the parking.
And obviously that's like an all-day shift, or is that split shifts?
It was pretty much all day. We started to do shifts toward the end of the season. But it's kind of hard to change shifts throughout there, but we
Yeah,
are
but
looking
that's
at,
kind of a long day to be
exactly.
standing out there.
So we are looking at doing shifts to get more folks to help us out.
Sure, just so you're not burning everybody out.
Correct. But I'll tell you what, anybody who worked from other departments have already reached out to us to help us out again this summer. So
Great.
they really enjoyed it, and I think that it's just we try to make it as fun as possible, even though it gets kind of chaotic.
It's Parks and Rec, it better be fun.
So yeah, and then the last page of your packet would be the Alto Lake conceptual plan.
But is that gonna be part of all of this motion that we're trying to make this evening, or do we need to just go ahead and address the parking motion right now?
Yes, I would say let's address
I do too.
A, B, and C as
While it's
three
fresh and
different.
Everybody's there.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we should address it also. You got any other questions or anything else?
The effective dates that are listed here,
Yeah, here on the left-hand side, right? So that would be starting the 13th of next
what
month.
is,
Correct, those would be if they were adopted by the council.
on the 13th, is that why that date is listed there?
Correct.
Okay.
And I actually
And
think it's on
why-
the 14th, so that's my mistake.
And is the non-highlighted items, I don't want to get into
Those,
too much, but the inflatable water park private parties, it says that, that's already been effective, okay. I see.
Correct, yep.
No change.
no change. Yep, the only thing I had included was, I believe I added the word local to some of those because I just, if we're making edits, I would just like there to be clarification that we wouldn't give a season pass to just anybody at those prices. They are for locals. No. I don't think so.
You guys got any more questions before we make a motion to adopt this?
I do not.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to adopt the fee and permit changes. Is that what we're calling them?
Yes, and you would basically be making a recommendation
Okay.
to adopt the
Recommending to
fees.
adopt them. So yeah, I'd like to make a recommendation to adopt the parking fees and permit changes proposed in the provided document. Anything else you want to add to that?
A second.
You good with that, Trevor?
Guess, I'm good with it. Did you vote, did you second it?
If we need a second, I will second it. If that's, do we need a second on a recommendation, then I'll
Yes.
make the second.
A roll call vote would mean, so you're in favor, aye.
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 And I also vote aye.
Wonderful. And I'll keep you guys updated on the the idea behind no reservations for locals and how we would kind of adjust that to our numbers if that is how we decide to go. But again, that was just sort of an idea we had to also improve the locals' experience.
Well, I think that's what sold it for me, is the fact that we're offering that to our local residents as a free of charge service.
Cool. Perfect.
Okay.
Did you all want to do anything with recommending of the master plan? Or is it too much to digest right now?
I really,
There's an awful lot to go through.
Yeah, I would like
I-
to definitely look through some of that, because there's some major changes, especially in the parking.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all about the information kiosk. I think that that's a really great tool to have accessible to our visitors and our guests. Like you said, it's going to save, God only knows how many questions that you're going to be reiterating the answer to all day long there at the information booth. Yeah. so
Yes.
Providing that information kiosk is definitely something that I'm in favor of.
13th it is.
And if we can direct our guests to that information kiosk, that will save you guys a ton of time, explanation, expedite the lines, and get people moving in and out of there a lot quicker, so.
Yes, very much agreed. And so I totally agree, and we kind of knew that that would be a lot to digest. So if we could maybe just have feedback from you all regarding the master plan, since the next council meeting is on the 13th, if we could have it a week prior. So if we gave you all a week from today, would that be enough time to kind of review and make any recommendations?
And we're
As a board.
just in our highlighted areas here.
No, you can, I mean, definitely look at the
Right, but
entire
is that what
document.
you're kind of, for our next meeting, is that what we're wanting to do? See if we have any revisional changes for these
On
recommendations?
those focus areas, yeah.
Thank you.
For our next meeting or? before
No,
the council meeting?
before the council
Before the
meeting. So
council
this would be via email. If, again, once you all have time to review it and really kind of give your feedback and what recommendations you would give or want to move forward with, we could do that. It would have to happen via email, obviously, because we would not be meeting prior to the council meeting.
They might just be read as notes at the council meeting.
I was in favor of quite a few of the things here in the master plan, but definitely I'd like,
It's a lot.
yeah, I'd like
Yeah.
a little bit of extra time to review some of those things for sure.
Well, I mean, and a lot of it's going to come back through. I mean, just because we approve a master plan, that doesn't mean that you've approved everything that is.
Correct. Each project that comes out of the master plan will go through this process again of getting, approved and recommendations and all of that. This is just kind of as a whole. Is this where, the direction we want to go?
Moving
So
on.
you want to tell us a little bit about the conceptual plan that we're,
Sure.
I mean, I guess I can review it.
And just to, really quick, to go back on the review of the Grindstone master plan, just for minutes wise, you all will give feedback via email regarding your recommendation,
Prior to the meeting
Prior
on
to
what,
the
what is the 13th?
the 13th. So if we could have it by that week prior, which would be, just had a calendar up, by the 6th of April.
6th of April. If we have any recommendations for
Correct.
correction or change.
And if you don't, you could just send us an email with no additional notes. Cool. I just want to make sure
Send it.
we're all on the same page on that one. So yeah, so item C is the conceptual plan. The biggest change is turning that pond into a state designated kids fishing pond. We have been in communication with the New Mexico Game and Fish. They are currently working with a lot of the kid ponds around the state, and they're trying to streamline and unify all of their rules and regulations for each of them so that they're all following the same guidelines, and they're working with us on that.
So we are talking about the catch pond just in front of the lake. This is becoming the youth fishing area.
Correct.
And so this would be like what age groups would be allowed to fish in the youth fishing areas?
I would say up until, and I,
18.
That may be something that the state is trying to
Correct.
streamline too, as far as getting all those
Like,
rules.
yeah,
Rules and
what the age
regulations,
groups
yeah.
would be.
And they do, I think in the licensing, they have a youth, they have a designation.
I believe
correct.
it's under 12, you don't have to have a license.
That is correct.
But
Don't
then
ask me how I know that.
Yeah, then I think there
Children
is
under
like a
12 are not required to have a
12
license.
to 18 sort of
Okay.
category, but I will definitely make note of that and ask.
Fishing licenses and everything would be provided there inside
At the.
At the Parks
concession.
building, though?
Correct, uh-huh.
Who put this together?
This conceptual plan, I believe also came from
Is that also ground?
Groundworks. Yes, it's Groundworks. I was trying to find the name, but it wasn't on there. And then, of course, planting some willows in that area with the creek, and then you'll see those blue areas are kind of going to be fishing or fish pools, to where it's not only, it can be used educational for kids, but also just for them to have, be able to see and kind of see a fish habitat. And then, of course, the gathering picnic tables on the extended deck, and then near that area right next to the concession.
The pedestrian bridge would be a floating bridge or permanently fixed?
Correct, floating.
Floating, okay.
My immediate reflexive kind of reaction to this is, I love the idea. Has Eric started to review this?
Yes,
Okay. Because I know, like, this in part, I think, exists because it's a flood mitigation measure. And so, like, I'm not sure what you can and should put in to an area that's supposed to, that's supposed
Subject
to
to flood.
mitigate flood damage to the lake and to the
Right.
downstream areas.
yes, and of course, Eric has been part of the conversations with this conceptual plan.
Okay.
I do believe, he's always involved in any of those conversations.
Yeah, anything that has to do with the water. Concessions in the building there,
Yes,
drinks, food.
They put a ton of money and manpower into, like, cleaning out that area after the flood.
After Little Bear.
We are also looking at a possible vendor, not just concept, like boat rentals, yes?
correct, yes. And so that RFP closed today at 3:00, so we should know.
Would primary access,
Yeah, where is the primary access going to be?
So, of course, the current parking area would remain there, but this would be, it's kind of off, it would be off of Lake Shore where you're entering.
Right,
have
into,
we acquired the building there?
Yes, yes,
That's Village owned? Mm-hmm. Oh, really?
yes,
The old Treehouse Cafe?
correct.
pretty familiar with that old place.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's kind of where all of this is kind of,
Will there be any increased parking at that particular building?
yes, there is parking currently there, and I believe the plan is to expand that area for the,
Back
The
down
parking.
Lake Shore towards,
now, so that I'm not sure of. I don't see that on this plan.
no, that's why I'm asking, because I don't see anything that shows an increase in
Yeah.
parking anywhere, except for what's currently there.
Right.
Yeah.
So accessing the building would be parking in the main parking area for the lake, walking down the dam, across the bridge.
Cross
and
it all the
over
way to the other
area.
side, or you get one of the 10 parking spots at the building, or whatever's, I don't have
Yeah,
any there.
not
but
many.
There's not many.
Not many.
Right.
think there's like 18.
And where it's this parcel boundary, is that a non-village owned land that's adjacent to Lakeshore?
The little triangle, that
Yeah.
wedged piece? That's a good
Correct.
question, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
because,
have an
mean,
update on
access to
that.
the
I know.
village property there is through that parcel.
I know that the folks, they were in conversation, the folks that do own that property, but I don't know where we are in that step of it. But no, it does not belong to the current property that we have purchased. That the
But there
village
was a
has purchased.
permanent easement where the driveway goes,
You would
right?
assume that somebody would have acquired an easement at some point in time for that.
No.
street.
Well, it was a-
Right.
it was
Consider
a-
the parking lot, I mean,
It
the
was a
driveway goes
federal
right across
building
it.
originally, so it was the post office for Alto, like back in the 1960s.
It
So,
was?
Yeah, that was a federal land lease, I believe.
Interesting.
Or not lease, I'm sorry, but easement.
And I'm not sure about any added parking there.
Yeah, I don't see it on this conceptual plan either, so,
Even if it was just staff parking there at the building itself, and then you were still making the guests access it that way, over the berm, and then across the bridge. It's not like it's that far away from the parking area.
No, I'm just thinking about, I'm kind of like Trevor, I'm trying not to go down a rabbit hole here, but I'm just thinking about if this is a kids fishing area only and family has 3 small kids,
right.
those 3 small kids are not going to walk from the parking lot up on the highway, carrying a bunch of fishing gear down the road, across the dam, around the other way, to get to a little area where they can fish,
Right.
you know? Just my thoughts.
Yeah, no, and if,
That's where I would put my children to fish, you know what I'm saying, if I had 3 small
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
I would rather park close and walk them down there.
yeah, and I can make a note of that, and maybe there's parking that's not listed here that Rodney is aware of, but I will.
Park them on the berm.
Park 'em on there.
It's right on the shoulder right there, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think
I like it.
it'd be,
I mean, it looks beautiful, right? And if it's derivative, or if it's specifically designed for that youth area, I mean, like you said, with the habitat ponds that go up the creek, I don't know, it looks pretty cool. And then, of course, you have your kayak dock for the main lake.
Mr. Chairman?
What is our-
That's a good question.
yeah.
Okay, so the old Alto post office is now village property, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Are those public bathrooms then?
The ones inside the building? Yes, they would be.
Okay,
I believe there's 2 restrooms in there, and I believe there was keeping one for staff and one for public use as they came through the concession.
so can people maybe reserve this little gathering space with picnic tables over there for parties and stuff? For a fee?
Potentially. We would have to add that into our fee resolution, but,
For Alto Lake fees over here, and I don't see any.
correct, no, because we have, it is not developed yet, so we have not included it as a potential facility to rent or make a reservation, but that is a great point, and I think that we would definitely see that in the future,
Okay.
yeah.
Do we see this as a revenue source or just
And
I mean,
attraction.
currently, because we don't get any revenue from Alto Lake.
Correct.
Correct. So your revenue's
I'm
going to
not-
come from rentals or something?
It would be from the concessionaire that's set up
Concession
there.
rentals.
And they're
Are we-
also looking at that concessionaire selling fishing licenses, so that whenever people come to town, it's a possibility that they wouldn't have to go to Western Auto or Walmart or whatever.
Bait,
they could-
tackle, fishing
Exactly.
permit, everything you need to hit the lake, boat permits, right? So what are we looking to just make the recommendation that we like this?
Yeah, we can note the
Or don't like
questions you
this,
had regarding, the ages and the parking, but,
So obviously there was concerns with the age and the parking situation, but
I mean, are we hoping to get approval on this conceptual plan?
This is more just
Present it to the
informational.
informational? Okay, it's under action.
well, it is under action, so I do believe that we're looking for a recommendation to move forward with this conceptual plan. Again, if there are notes that we want to make regarding the parking and verifying the ages before moving forward with the recommendation, that we can totally do that.
Yeah, I would like to make a note that, or to have some information from the water engineer about the area, ensure that
And the water.
we've gone through that process before we really.
sink a bunch of money there.
Time on it.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if, I think it would be good to note that we'd like to maybe identify parking options for users of this section, if there's any increased parking options available. What else do you guys want to add there? I think you guys are.
I think those are kind of the main
Oh, and
main
I guess the
questions.
age, as you already noted, that
Yeah.
would there be age restrictions? How is that going to be? I mean, because we currently don't, what is our, I know we currently staff this a little bit for controlling parking, but we didn't actually charge for parking, did we?
Correct.
We just helped to manage the parking.
Exactly.
And we probably have to have additional staffing for management of this just facility, or are we going to release?
That's contracted, isn't it?
Correct. That would be part of the concession that was,
And it would be a separate contract or a combined contract with Grindstone?
it went out as its separate,
Bid process.
yes, a separate bid.
But that would, so their management would be included in,
We would, of course, still manage the parking aspect.
yeah, I was, well, but, yeah.
Well, you don't have to have a reservation for Alto, it's just
Not at this time.
at this point.
At this
Yeah.
time. But
I
obviously
never
it's
want
gonna
to say
become
no
just as
because
popular
it
as the
could
other.
change at any minute.
Yeah, I mean, I want to entertain a motion for proceeding with the development of, somebody want to make it?
Yeah, so, I want to make sure I say this correctly. I'd like to make a recommendation that we move forward on the Alto Lake conceptual plan. Do we need to add that
Noted.
with consideration to
Of noted items? or-
whatever noted items you have addressing parking and
Watershed and
Watershed.
ages,
Watershed and,
Ages.
yeah, ages.
age restrictions, yeah.
Now, with the, sorry, I didn't mean to backtrack since he was already making the motion, but since we're allowing the boats
late.
and kayaks and everything into the lake, is that going to open it for swimming also, or is it just for vessel use? Okay,
Just vessels.
Correct.
so then I'll second.
Roll call vote, you want?
yeah,
Aye.
Kim, just for my own knowledge, because I don't know that brings up a question. Why don't they swim at Alto Lake?
The goldfish leeches.
It's not as
Deep,
deep,
big catfish
for
in there.
one, and the turbidity, whenever people are kicking that up, I think it's harder to filter out of that lake,
Gotcha.
is my understanding.
I assume because
Good
the size of the
answer,
lake had something to do with it, but I wasn't
It
certain.
does. It isn't near as big
It's not
or,
near
or-
as big.
or deep. And that mud gets, once it gets stirred up, it's just hard to keep it filtered.
Gotcha.
It's all silty.
It's very silty.
Yep.
Okay.
Awesome.
I like it. Looks cool.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I like that there'll be all those nice little areas. What else we got,
What
team?
do we do with all the ducks that,
What's that?
they used to call it the duck pond. No. It's gonna-
I call it the Goldfish Pond. Have y'all
Really?
been there? I
I've
don't know
seen the
how many
goldfish in the lake
goldfish are in
before.
there, boy, but there is a school of goldfish that swim around that pond. It is crazy.
So I know we've already gotten some portions of the director's report.
Yeah, and I can go over a few of the highlights so as far as the recreation report, we did want to talk to you all. We are looking now that we have moved kind of into the green area of the state health order framework. We are looking at some youth sports coming back and adult softball. We have put together COVID-safe proposals for some of those programmings, and we'll be having meetings with the league organizers to see if they would like to follow through under the guidelines that are set forth with the current framework. We also, our Easter is being done this week. We, instead of having our annual traditional big Easter hunt at Cedar Creek, we teamed up with the Ruidoso Public Schools, and we'll be going to the schools and doing Easter egg hunts for each of their cohorts on campus. And
K through 5.
K through 5, correct, pre-K through 5. And they would also be sending emails home to any of the students who are online learning only. And we're also working with homeschools to send some eggs with their programs as well. And we'll be doing a post that if there are any homeschool kids out there that would like to come by and pick up some eggs for a hunt, they can do that. So we do have that going. Again, we kind of had to modify for COVID safe practices. And as far as project updates, the beach is complete. I don't know if you guys have been over to Grindstone yet, but the beach is in place and sandy.
It's super sandy. I looked at it the other day when I was over there picking up trash on the golf course.
Yeah. And then for some of those master plans, so obviously we're in the recommendation component for the Grindstone master plan. Wingfield has been approved by the council, so we will be looking at kicking that off in April. Trails, Cree Meadows is out for bid right now for construction. So that would be like the Lynx Trail that connects Cree up to Cedar Creek.
Nice.
And the Lynx is, the 90% of the design is done and with the Department of Transportation. And then Moon Mountain, 30% of the design has been complete with the Department of Transportation as well. And,
Now, tell
no,
me what that means.
sorry. What means, sorry? The
You said-
90% of design?
For Moon Mountain, what part of Moon Mountain is the Department of Transportation like in charge of?
Did I say Department of Transportation?
Yeah,
I meant that one for Cree Meadows, but,
okay. All right, I was confused as
Yeah,
to
no.
why they would be included in that design.
yeah, scratch that.
Okay.
I repeated
Just-
myself.
I was just checking, I thought maybe it had some trail next adjacent to the road that I just.
Something.
No, I don't believe so, but I could verify that. And maybe there is part of that like school area, but I'll confirm
I
with
don't
that.
think
But
so.
it's only 30% in design, so I'll
Okay.
clarify before we get to the 90%
That'd
stage.
be good. Right. I don't know, I'm sorry, I just.
Oh, no, you're-
noises, just because I
No, thank
think
you.
out loud sometimes.
Good call. And yeah, are there any questions on any projects that I might not have listed? And maybe I'll have an answer.
One of the things, what has happened with the snow play and ice skating expansion agreement?
So that is moving forward. The project was accepted and Mr. Dorgan has been approved to move forward with his project. So they are looking at starting the build out for that. And
Is that going to impact the softball at all? I know we said it wasn't going to, but what?
correct. So they have been we will be in communication with the softball tournament organizers to ensure that the schedules kind of don't overlap to where it's affected, but it is part of the communication plan. And yeah, they are aware and have worked that out to make sure that they're working cohesively.
That's going to be exciting.
What's that?
That mountain coaster that they're going to put, yeah.
Heck yeah.
I'm going to be the first rider, you watch.
Ooh.
Maybe not the test dummy, but when it's
I'll
open
be the
to public.
second. I'll be the second, yeah.
Month after month after month.
You'd be a little more specific.
Yeah. I'm working on the specifics.
Wonderful.
Are we taking any action with the two issues, I guess? Pickleball stuff is just kind of, are they coordinating any, I mean, as we start to open up, are they called us coordinate tournaments or anything like that?
No, they have not. We actually had one of the pickleballers on our radio outdoor hour segment, I believe last month, and we were able to talk through that kind of whole concept with them and moving forward. And they seem to be pretty understanding of where we are right now with the master plans and kind of looking at, the potential of redesigning the areas. But we are definitely still in communication and have that open dialogue so that if they do get to the point where, we need to bring that up again, or address it, we certainly have that conversation going.
The horses and on the fields,
Yeah,
are,
they are there.
They're definitely there.
we're just, I know that there's ongoing conversations with the owners of the property and the managers of the property at
Oh,
this
thank you
point.
for that. So we have purchased the horse property there that's next to White Mountain, and that was an update I was supposed to give you as well.
The which property?
That's adjacent to White Mountain there.
Correct.
As you enter into White Mountain, the stables that are there on the left.
That pipe fence there.
To the left.
Like if you go down into the parking lot for the dog park.
Yeah.
It's there to the left.
That property on the left?
Correct.
So we're gonna try to corral them there, so.
Don't answer that.
We're going into the horseback riding visit, just kidding.
Oh,
No.
wild horseback riding.
No, that is, you just mentioned the horses, so I forgot to mention that property is also going to be,
Does that include a structure?
it does currently.
And a barn.
But that again is kind of to move forward with this big strategic, the comp plan for the village to kind of create more green spaces and field opportunities within the village. So that opportunity came up and they were able to purchase that, so.
I mean, and that brings me back, I guess, to the actual, I mean, because we
The horses.
manage White Mountain soccer fields. We don't own that property.
Correct.
I think that the owners of that property are gonna wanna know what we're doing to help manage that property in regards to that.
And
Can we just, I mean, I know gates won't stop anything, but it will limit access a little bit.
so I do believe, and I don't have a 100% answer on this. I know that it's kind of gone above our village level as to what we're doing what we can do. But I do know that there will be conversations with the schools and Parks and Rec to kind of figure out how we help that problem.
Right now, we have put out signs that ask you to not feed the wildlife but I don't know how much further we can go on this level.
Correct.
So it's, when you say it's going to another level, what do you?
So,
If I'm asked a question, I want to be able to
Yeah.
explain
And
what is currently happening.
so I know that this has gone to a different board, and I think it's the,
It's not BLM.
no, it's farm,
Like livestock farming.
exactly. It's one of those state boards
like
that
a
have kind of,
livestock board.
Okay.
and I know that our state rep, our attorney, has kind of been part of that process because it does, been part of that conversation because it is where, how much can we mitigate the problem and really, how far can.
It's just, I don't want to get into this where the schools are like, well, that's your problem because you're the manager, and we're like, well, no, that you're the landowner. And
Right. And that's where I think the conversation with Rodney will be going is kind of how do they work together since, like you mentioned, a gate, we can't put the gate up because we don't own the property. We can't just make that decision by ourselves, I'm assuming. So again, I know that there is plans for them to have that discussion and kind of figure it out. But it's kind of above the village.
And we could have Rodney follow up on that
Yes.
with an email out to y'all, because
He's definitely more informed and part of these bigger conversations.
Yeah, I'll make a note to have him send an email regarding horses.
And I know it's been part of the
Like, it's
discussions.
You just shoot to me, but I mean, it's not. I just, like I said, I want to be able to answer a question if it's.
Right.
It's good to have that info, though.
If you visit 1490krui.com and go to a past episode of the Mayor, Mondays with the Mayor, I know they discussed it and they probably put way more detail in there than I just gave you.
Okay,
I'll send you the link if I find the right one.
I will try to.
And yes, that is me plugging our radio station.
Was that what that was?
The building, are we doing that building that's being done, right?
Wingfield?
Yeah.
The
no,
old Will.
At the radio station, it looks like they're actually building a new little structure is that for the radio station?
Are you talking
Right
about
next to
the?
Ace Hardware, that
Yes,
building?
correct. So that's the historic Wingfield House is what they call it. But yes, that is the village's, the idea behind that is it's going to be sort of a visitor center, museum, kind of historic site where they're going to have a lot of cool historic information in the house part of it. And then the garage will become the house for the radio station. So KRUI will operate out of the garage. And yeah, we're moving there hopefully in the next few months, eventually.
Have a garage radio station.
Yes,
Garage rock.
neon lights and everything.
Sweet.
I think that will depend on the Windstream 500 project
Correct.
in a huge way.
Yes.
Any other updates?
I think I'm sure there are more updates, but that's all I've got right now. And we'll definitely, again, follow up with Rodney on a few of these points and make sure that we get full information to you guys.
Sure.
But that's all I got.
Your motion to adjourn?
Yeah. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second it. This is really easy, It's just a couple of us sitting here, it's pretty easy.
It's gonna get easier, right? Spread the word.
Right, yeah, Sonny's gonna
You got a lot to do
come
next meeting.
I like how you guys were throwing me under the bus.
Well, do chairs make motions?
Doesn't
Is
matter.
the chair supposed to make?
I don't believe
I don't
so.
think so.
I don't think so either. I think I'm supposed to ask
Are we
for
turned
it.
off to close or? No?
Probably should be.
We did adjourn. We had a motion and a second.
I don't want him to start bad mouthing me before.